Some mornings, the Lord gives you exactly what you need even when you don't know you need it. That's what my Sarah used to say, back when her voice still filled our little cabin on the Atchafalaya Basin. Now it's just me, the weather radio crackling storm warnings, and 2 coffee cups on the counter, one empty. One that'll stay that way till I join her. Hurricane Helena's bearing down fast. 6 hours out and gaining strength. Any sensible man my age would batten down and wait it out. But sense left me 3 years ago when they lowered Sarah into Louisiana clay. These days, I fish when the urge strikes, storm or shine. The boat motor coughs like an old man's lungs fitting, since we're both pushing past our prime. Spanish moss hangs heavy in the cypress trees, and somewhere through the morning mist comes a sound that stops my heart cold. Not a bird, not a gator. Something's crying for help out there in God's forgotten country, and time's running short. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments, along with the city you're watching from now. Let's continue with the story. The cry comes again, fainter now, like something giving up hope. I gun the motor and push deeper into the bayou, where the water turns black as coffee and twice as bitter. 40 years fixing broken machinery at the power plant taught me one thing: everything can be saved if you're willing to get your hands dirty. The Spanish moss parts like curtains as I follow the sound. My aluminum boat cutting through water that's already rising from the storm surge. Hurricane Helena's still hours away, but she's sending her calling cards wine that bends the cypress trees and turns the morning air thick as molasses. There, about 100 yards past the old fishing spot, where Tommy and I used to catch catfish as boys, I see movement in the reeds. My heart hammers against my ribs as I cut the engine and let the boat drift closer. What emerges from the mud stops me cold. A German shepherd, big as life and twice as noble, trapped chest deep in quicksand-like mud that's got him good. But this isn't just any dog, even half dead and covered in muck. He's got that military bearing, ears forward, eyes alert, not panicking like most animals would. He's been trained for this kind of hell. The collar around his neck looks expensive. Military-grade leather with metal tags that catch what little sunlight filters through the storm clouds. Fresh scars crisscross his coat, the kind that speak of service and sacrifice. This boy's seen combat, no doubt about it. When our eyes meet, something passes between us, one old soldier recognizing another. He doesn't thrash or whine, just watches me with those intelligent brown eyes that seem to say, "I've been waiting for you." The wind picks up, rattling the boat against the cypress knees. Water sloshes over the gunnels as Helena flexes her muscles in the distance. I've got maybe an hour before this whole section of bayou becomes a washing machine, and this dog's got less time than that. "Easy there, soldier," I call out, checking my gear, rope, come along, emergency radio that better work when I need it. "We're gonna get you home. Whatever war you fought. It's over now." The dog's tail moves just slightly, not a wag. But acknowledgement, trust. In 43 years of marriage, Sarah always said I had a weakness for lost causes. Maybe that's why she married me. I tie off the boat and step into the sucking mud, feeling it grab at my boots like hungry hands, the storms breathing down our necks, time's running short, and I'm about to find out if this old mechanic's got one more fix left in him. When life gives you lemons, you better make lemonade and fast. Seeing that dog's military bearing takes me back 48 years to when Tommy was 17 and I was 20, both of us standing knee-deep in this same bayou water. Different world back then. Vietnam was winding down, but the shadow of war still hung over every young man in Louisiana like Spanish moss on cypress trees. Tommy had that same look the dogs got now, alert, determined, ready for whatever hell was coming. Our daddy, rest his soul, was teaching us to fish with trot lines when Tommy dropped his bombshell. "I'm enlisting, Bobby," he said, not looking at me, just watching his cork bob in the current. "Soon as I turn 18, Daddy stopped checking his line. Korean War veteran. He knew what that meant. "Son, you got college lined up, full ride to LSU. Why you want to throw that away?" Tommy's jaw set stubborn as a mule. "Because somebody's got to go. Because it's the right thing to do." He looked at me then, green eyes blazing with that Anderson fire we all inherited. "Because if I don't, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering if I was a coward." I wanted to shake sense into him. We had plans take over Daddy's bait shop, expand it into a proper marina. Tommy had the head for business, the way with people. I was the grease monkey. Good with my hands, but no gift for gab. We needed each other. "You're not running toward anything," I told him, angry words tumbling out before I could stop them. "You're running away from responsibility, from family, from me." Daddy held up his hand, voice carrying that authority that made us both shut up and listen. "Boys, let me tell you something about responsibility. A man's word is his bond. You promise to look after each other. You keep that promise till your dying day. That's what brothers do." He pulled out his old Purple Heart, tarnished silver in the fading light. "I've seen boys, good boys, who never came home, left their families wondering, left their brothers carrying guilt that wasn't theirs to carry." He looked hard at both of us. "Whatever happens, wherever life takes you, you find each other. You hear me? Blood don't abandon blood." Tommy reached over and grabbed my shoulder. "If I ever get lost, I'll send you a sign, Bobby. Something only you would understand." We made that promise standing in muddy water, hands clasped like we were sealing a blood oath, neither of us knowing how prophetic those words would be. But that was 1975. Tommy didn't enlist, then took 2 years to wear Daddy down. Convince him it was the right choice. By the time he actually shipped out in 2003, everything had changed. 9/11 happened, and suddenly every young man in America felt that same call Tommy heard in the bayou. I remember our last real conversation, right here in this same spot. Tommy was 28 by then, older than most recruits, but determined as ever. He'd been working at the power plant with me, saving money, but I could see the restlessness eating at him like acid. "It's different now," he said, checking his fishing line. "Afghanistan, Iraq. These boys need handlers for bomb-sniffing dogs. I've been reading about it. Good dogs dying because they don't have proper trainers." "You don't know nothing about training dogs," I argued. But my heart wasn't in it. We both knew Tommy had always been the one strays followed home. Had a gift with animals, same as he had with people. "I can learn. Military's got the best training programs in the world." He looked at me with those same green eyes, but sadder now, weighted down with years of wanting something he couldn't name. "Bobby, I need to do this. I need to matter." "You matter here," I said. but the words sounded hollow even to me. Truth was, Tommy was wasted at the power plant. Too smart, too alive for the routine of checking gauges and filing reports. He needed purpose, and I was too selfish to admit it. Our last fight wasn't about the war or duty or any noble thing. It was about money. Who'd take care of Daddy if Tommy left? Who'd handle the bills if he didn't come back? Who'd be left holding the pieces if everything fell apart? "You think I want to leave?" Tommy shouted, and for the first time I heard fear in his voice. "You think this is easy, but I can't spend the rest of my life fixing other people's mistakes. Bobby, I need to make something of my own. What if you don't come back?" The words tore out of me like they were lined with barbed wire. "What if you die over there for nothing?" Tommy's face went soft then, and he grabbed my shoulders the way he had when we were kids, and I'd had nightmares. Then, you remember what Daddy taught us. You remember that love don't end just because somebody's gone. And you remember that I chose to try to make a difference, instead of playing it safe. That was September 2003. By October, he was gone. For 5 years. I got letters first from basic training, then from Afghanistan. He told me about Ranger, his German Shepherd partner, smart as a whip, loyal as the day is long, trained to sniff out IEDs before they could blow convoys to hell. "This dog's saving lives every day," Tommy wrote in his last letter. "If something happens to me, you take care of Ranger. You hear, he's earned better than being forgotten." Then came 2008. 2 officers at my door, dress uniforms and grave faces. "We regret to inform you that Sergeant Thomas Anderson was killed in action." The rest was noise, official words that couldn't hold the weight of losing the person who mattered most. They never mentioned Ranger, never said what happened to Tommy's partner, his best friend, his brother-in-arms. When I asked, they said K-9 units were classified, need-to-know basis. For 15 years. I carried that guilt. Tommy asked me to take care of his dog, and I didn't even know where Ranger was. Didn't know if he was alive or dead, retired or still serving, happy or forgotten in some government facility. Now here I am, staring at a German Shepherd trapped in Louisiana mud, and something in my chest is breaking open like a dam in flood season. This dog's got that same look Tommy had, that quiet competence, that willingness to face whatever comes. Maybe it's not Ranger. Maybe it's just wishful thinking from an old man who's carried too much guilt for too long. But standing here in rising water with Hurricane Helena bearing down, I can almost hear Tommy's voice on the wind. "If I ever get lost, I'll send you a sign. Bobby." And sometimes, the best signs come on 4 legs. The mud's got this dog like quicksand's got a sinner. The more he struggles, the deeper he sinks. But this boy's smart enough to stay still, conserving energy while his eyes track every move I make. Military training at its finest. I wade closer, feeling the bottom turn treacherous under my boots. This part of the bayou's always been unstable, but the storm surge is making it downright dangerous. One wrong step and I'll be joining this dog in his muddy grave. "Easy now, soldier," I murmur, the way I used to talk to spooked equipment at the plant. "We're gonna figure this out together." The wind's picking up fierce, bending the cypress trees like they're saplings. Hurricane Helena's still hours out, but she's sending advance scouts gusts that rock my boat and send ripples across the black water. The weather radio's crackling non-stop now. Emergency broadcasts telling folks to evacuate or hunker down. I should be heading home, should be boarding up windows and checking my generator, but something about this dog won't let me walk away. Maybe it's the scars I can see under the mud, or the way he's watching me with those intelligent brown eyes. This isn't some pet that wandered off from a suburban backyard. This is a working dog, trained for serious business. Back at the boat, I dig through my gear. Rope, come-along winch, emergency radio, and my old toolbox, 40 years of fixing things that other people had given up on. If I can jury-rig a pulley system using the cypress roots, maybe I can pull him out without getting us both stuck. The dog's breathing is getting labored. He's been fighting this mud for God knows how long, and exhaustion is setting in. Worse. When I get closer, I can see infected wounds on his legs and flank-deep cuts that haven't healed proper. Red and angry looking. A terrible thought creeps into my mind. What if saving him is just prolonging his suffering? What if the kindest thing would be to put him out of his misery? I've got my old 38 in the boat, and Lord knows I've had to make that hard choice with injured deer before. But something in those eyes stops me cold. This dog isn't giving up. He's waiting, trusting, believing that help will come. How can I quit on something that hasn't quit on itself? All right, boy, I say, tying rope around the sturdiest cypress root I can find. We're gonna do this the hard way. The come-along winch is older than dirt, but it's pulled plenty of stuck equipment out of worse spots. I wade back to the dog, fighting the suction with every step. The mud's cold and thick, trying to claim my boots with each movement. Getting the rope around the dog's chest is the tricky part. He could panic, could bite, could thrash and drag us both under. Instead, he holds perfectly still while I work the rope under his front legs, creating a makeshift harness. When I accidentally brush against one of those infected wounds, he flinches but doesn't snap. Good boy, I whisper. You know what we're doing, don't you? Back at the winch, I start cranking. The mechanism groans and protests, but it holds. Slowly, inch by inch, the dog starts rising from the mud. It makes wet, sucking sounds like the earth itself is reluctant to give him up. Halfway out, disaster strikes. The rope starts fraying where it rubs against the cypress bark. One strand snaps, then another. The dog slides back down, and for a moment I think we've lost him. But military training dies hard. Even exhausted and hurt, this dog understands the situation. When I wade back out with fresh rope, he actually helps, shifting his weight to make the new harness easier to secure. You've done this before, haven't you? Boy. I grunt, retying the knots. Not the mud part, but the rescue part. You know how to work with your partner. Second attempt goes smoother. The winch holds, the rope holds, and slowly, this magnificent animal emerges from what could have been his grave. When he's finally free, lying on solid ground and breathing hard, I can see the extent of his condition. He's thin, not starved, but lean in a way that speaks of hard living. Those scars I glimpsed tell stories of combat, of close calls and lucky escapes. His paws are torn up from whatever journey brought him here, but it's his collar that stops my heart. Expensive leather, military-grade hardware, and metal tags that are too mud-covered to read. but I can make out partial letters through the grime, SJT, and what looks like Anderson. My hands shake as I try to clean the tags. Anderson's not an uncommon name in Louisiana, but combined with the military bearing, the professional training, the combat scars, a cold feeling settles in my chest like ice in a whiskey glass. The storm's getting closer, trees are bending at impossible angles, and the water's rising fast. I need to get us both to safety before Helena unleashes her full fury. But first, I need to see those tags clearly. Back at the boat, I pour clean water from my drinking jug over the metal tags, scrubbing with my shirt sleeve, letter by letter. The truth emerges like a photograph developing in a dark room. SJE, Thomas Anderson, K9 Unit. The world tilts sideways, my brother's name, clear as day, hanging from the neck of a German shepherd who just led me through the most dangerous rescue of my life. Tommy's dog, Tommy's partner, Tommy's ranger. But that's impossible. Tommy died 15 years ago. They told me he was killed in action, told me his body couldn't be recovered, told me to be proud of his sacrifice. They never mentioned Ranger surviving, never said what happened to my brother's best friend. The dog ranger watches me with those knowing eyes. He's breathing easier now, lying on his side but alert. When I say his name, his ears perk up and his tail moves just slightly. Recognition, memory, home. Jesus Christ, Ranger, I whisper, and my voice breaks like a teenager's. Where the hell have you been? Boy, where's Tommy? But dogs don't answer questions, and the storm won't wait for explanations. Hurricane Helena's bearing down with the fury of the Old Testament, and we need shelter. The ride back to my cabin is rough, with Ranger lying in the bottom of the boat and me fighting wind that wants to flip us both into the churning water. 40 years fixing broken machinery taught me one thing. Everything can be saved if you're willing to get your hands dirty. But some things that get saved raise more questions than they answer. As we make the dock behind my cabin, with Spanish moss whipping in the wind and the sky turning the color of old bruises, I can't shake the feeling that finding Ranger isn't the end of this story. It's just the beginning. Because if Tommy's dog is alive after all these years, wandering the Louisiana bayou like a ghost made flesh, then maybe, just maybe, other impossible things might be true too. And that thought scares me more than any hurricane ever could. Inside my cabin, with Hurricane Helena rattling the windows like an angry ghost, I clean those dog tags with hands that won't stop shaking. Each letter emerges from 15 years of grime and neglect, spelling out a truth that turns my world upside down. SJT, Thomas Anderson, K9 Unit, KIA 2008, KIA. Killed in action. The same words those dress uniform officers spoke at my door. The same words carved into the empty headstone I've visited every Memorial Day for 15 years. But here's Tommy's partner, alive and breathing on my kitchen floor, wearing tags that should have been buried with military honors. Ranger lifts his head when I read Tommy's name aloud, ears forward like he's waiting for his handler to walk through the door. The hope in those brown eyes cuts deeper than any blade. I pour whiskey with trembling hands, Sarah's good stuff she saved for special occasions. This isn't special. It's devastating. But I need something to steady my nerves. The amber liquid burns going down, but it doesn't burn away the questions eating at my brain like acid. How is Tommy's dog alive? Where has he been for 15 years? Why is he here now, appearing in the bayou like some biblical miracle? And the question that terrifies me most: what if the military lied about Tommy? I sink into Sarah's old rocking chair, studying Ranger in the lamplight. Even injured and exhausted, he's magnificent, the kind of dog that makes you understand why soldiers trust their lives to 4 legs and a wet nose. His scars tell stories I don't want to imagine: IED explosions, firefights, night missions in hostile territory. But there are fresher wounds, too, infected cuts that speak of recent hardship. This dog hasn't been living soft somewhere. He's been surviving, enduring, waiting for something or someone. The storm outside grows fierce, but inside my head, a different kind of tempest rages. Memories flood back unbidden: that military notification in 2008, the funeral with an empty casket. Years of wondering if I could have done more to protect my little brother. I remember asking about Ranger during that awful week. What happened to Tommy's dog? I'd demanded of the casualty officer, a young lieutenant who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Canine operations are classified, sir. I can't discuss specifics. But he had a partner, a German shepherd named Ranger. Tommy wrote about him constantly. The lieutenant's face went carefully blank. Sergeant Anderson's personal effects will be shipped to next of kin. That's all I can tell you. But no dog ever arrived. No Ranger, no explanation, no closure, just a box of Tommy's things: letters, photos, his Purple Heart, and a promise that his sacrifice mattered. Now here's that same dog, wearing those same tags, looking at me like he's been searching for something only I can provide. I grabbed Tommy's last letter from the shoebox where I keep his correspondence. Sarah used to tease me about holding on to every scrap of paper. But now I'm grateful for my pack rat tendencies. The letter is dated March 15th, 2008, 3 weeks before the military says he died. Bobby, I read aloud, and Ranger's ears perk up at my voice. This dog is something special. Rangers saved our convoy 4 times this month alone. Smart as a whip and loyal as the day is long. If something happens to me, you take care of him. You hear, he's earned better than being forgotten. Ranger's tail thumps weakly against the floor. He remembers Tommy's voice. Probably dreams about it every night. But here's what doesn't make sense if Tommy died in March 2008. How is his dog alive in 2023? German shepherds don't live 20 years, especially not combat dogs who've seen hard service. Ranger should be dead by now, buried in some military cemetery or put down when his usefulness ended, unless... The thought hits me like a physical blow. What if Tommy didn't die in 2008? What if the military lied, covered something up, made my brother disappear for reasons I can't fathom? I stumble to my desk, pawing through papers, until I find the official death certificate. Sergeant Thomas Anderson, killed in action, remains unrecoverable. Standard language for soldiers who died in explosions or enemy territory where retrieval wasn't possible. But what if it wasn't true? What if Tommy survived whatever happened over there, and the military needed him to stay dead for security reasons? Black ops, classified missions, the kind of shadow war the government never admits exists. It sounds crazy, paranoid, the kind of conspiracy theory that gets you labeled a nut job. But standing here with Tommy's dog, his very much alive dog, the impossible starts seeming plausible. Ranger struggles to his feet, limping to the kitchen door. He whines softly, looking back at me with urgent eyes. Even wounded and weak, he's trying to tell me something. "What is it, boy?" I ask, following him to the window. Outside, Hurricane Helena's fury is biblical trees bending horizontal, debris flying like missiles, water rising in sheets across the yard. But Ranger isn't looking at the storm. He's looking toward the deep bayou, toward the dark heart of the Atchafalaya Basin, where few people venture and fewer return. His whole body is tense, focused, like he's waiting for a signal only he can hear. "Is someone out there?" I whisper, and ice forms in my chest. Is Tommy out there? The idea should be impossible. I've lived in this cabin for 3 years since Sarah died, and before that I visited regular to fish and hunt. I know every inch of this bayou, every hidden channel and forgotten island. There's no way someone could survive out there for 15 years without me knowing. But Ranger's behavior says different. This dog didn't wander here by accident. He came looking for something, and now that he's found me, he wants to lead me somewhere else. Lightning splits the sky, illuminating the bayou in stark black and white. For just a moment, I think I see movement in the tree line, a shadow that doesn't belong, a shape too deliberate to be wind or debris. Then darkness returns, and I'm left wondering if grief and whiskey are making me see things that aren't there. But Ranger saw it too. His hackles are up, not in aggression but in recognition. Whatever's out there, he knows it. I grab my emergency radio, tuning through static until I find the emergency broadcast. Hurricane Helena has made landfall with sustained winds of 110 miles per hour. All residents in evacuation zones should seek immediate shelter. Do not attempt travel until conditions improve. The storm's at its worst, but it'll pass by morning. If Tommy is really out there, they'll need help when the wind dies down. They'll need their brother to come looking. I check my .38, make sure it's loaded and functional. Not because I expect trouble, but because 15 years of believing my brother was dead has taught me to prepare for anything. Ranger's watching every move I make, those intelligent eyes tracking like he's memorizing my routine. When I sit back down, he limps over and lays his massive head on my knee. The weight is comforting, solid, real. If he's out there, I tell the dog, we'll find him. But first you need rest, and we both need to survive this storm. Ranger's tail thumps once against the floor agreement, understanding, hope, outside. Hurricane Helena screams like all the demons of hell. But inside this little cabin, something impossible is taking root. For the first time in 15 years, I'm allowing myself to believe that maybe, just maybe, the story they told me about Tommy's death was wrong. And if they lied about that, what else did they lie about? Blood may be thicker than water, but loyalty runs deeper than both. Tommy taught me that. Now his dog is here to remind me. Come morning, when the storm passes and the bayou calms, we're going hunting. Not for deer or duck, but for the truth. And maybe, if God's feeling merciful, for my brother. Present, 7:30 a.m. Hurricane Helena. Passing dawn breaks gray and wounded over the bayou. Hurricane Helena's fury spent, but her scars fresh on every cypress and oak. I've been awake all night, watching Ranger sleep fitfully by the dying fire, his legs twitching like he's running through dreams I can't imagine. The emergency radio crackles with damage reports, downed power lines, flooded roads, missing persons. But I'm not listening to the news. I'm watching Ranger, who's been restless since the wind died down, pacing to the door and back, whining soft and urgent. You want to go somewhere, don't you, boy? I ask, and his ears perk up like I've spoken a magic word. When I open the door, he limps straight to my boat, looking back to make sure I'm following. Those infected wounds need medical attention, but something in his manner tells me this can't wait. He's got purpose burning in those brown eyes. The same focused intensity Tommy had when he was determined to prove a point. Flashback, 2008. 3 weeks before notification. The memory hits like a sucker punch as I start the boat motor. Tommy's last phone call. Static-filled and hurried, calling from some forward base in Afghanistan where satellite phones were precious as gold. Bobby Jesus, it's good to hear your voice. Listen, I don't have long, but I need you to know something. You sound different, I'd said, worried by the strain in his voice. Everything okay over there? Long pause, filled with static and distant explosions. Define okay. Bobby, if something happens to me, don't talk like that. Listen to me. The desperation in his voice silenced my protests. If something happens, there are things you don't know, things I can't tell you over this line, but Ranger knows. If he ever finds you, if he ever comes home, you follow where he leads. You hear me? Tommy, you're scaring me. I'm scared too, brother, but I need you to promise, too. Whatever Ranger shows you, whatever you find, remember that I never stopped loving you, never stopped thinking about home. The line went dead. 3 weeks later, those officers came to my door. Present, following Ranger deeper into the bayou. Now I'm following Tommy's dog through channels I've never explored, watching him navigate like he's done this journey 1,000 times. The storm has changed the landscape, trees down, new sandbars exposed, familiar landmarks rearranged by wind and water. But Ranger knows where he's going, every turn, every fork in the waterway. He indicates with subtle movements of his head. When I take a wrong channel, he barks once sharp, corrective. When I'm on the right path, he settles in the bow like a furry figurehead. Flashback, 2003. Tommy's deployment. You think I want to leave? Tommy had shouted during our last real fight, standing in ankle-deep water while lightning bugs danced around us like fallen stars. You think this is easy, but I can't spend the rest of my life wondering what if... Bobby, I can't die knowing I was too scared to try. What if you don't come back? I'd shot back, and the words tasted like poison. What if you die over there for nothing? Tommy's face went soft then, the anger draining out of him like water from a broken dam. Then you remember what Daddy taught us. You remember that love don't end just because somebody's gone. And you remember that I chose to try to make a difference instead of playing it safe. 5 years. 5 years of letters that grew shorter and darker, filled with references to missions he couldn't describe and things he couldn't unsee. 5 years of watching my little brother disappear into a war that seemed to have no end and no purpose. This dog saving lives every day. He'd written about Ranger. Smart as a whip, loyal as sunset. Sometimes I think he's the only thing keeping me sane over here. If something happens to me, you take care of him. Promise me, Bobby. He's earned better than being forgotten. Present, discovering signs of habitation. We've been traveling for an hour when Ranger suddenly goes rigid, ears forward and focused through the Spanish moss. I catch a glimpse of something that doesn't belong, a flash of camouflage netting. So well hidden I would have missed it if not for the dog's reaction. I cut the engine and let the boat drift closer. What emerges from the undergrowth stops my heart, cold evidence of long-term human habitation. A careful observer would see it camouflaged tarps, elevated platforms to keep supplies dry, solar panels hidden under branches. Someone's been living out here, living rough, but living smart, with military precision and survival skills that speak of serious training. Ranger whimpers, tail wagging for the first time since I found him. This place means something to him. This place feels like home. Flashback. 2008. The funeral that wasn't standing at Tommy's empty grave. I'd felt hollow as a rotten cypress. Dress blues, folded flag, 21-gun salute, all the military honors for a brother whose body couldn't be recovered. He died serving his country, the chaplain had said. Words that were supposed to comfort but only cut deeper. His sacrifice will not be forgotten. But what sacrifice? What mission? The details were classified, need to know, above my pay grade. All they'd tell me was that Tommy's unit had been hit by an IED during a routine patrol, and his body was unrecoverable due to enemy activity in the area. It never sat right. Tommy was too smart, too careful, too good at his job to get caught in a routine patrol gone wrong. And Ranger, where was Ranger military? Working dogs don't just disappear. They retire, get adopted, live out their days with handlers or volunteers. But when I asked, I got stone walls and classified stamps. Present. Finding the camp ranger leads me to a hidden dock, so perfectly camouflaged I almost miss it. The platform is built with military engineering weight-bearing, weather-resistant, designed to last. This isn't some weekend hunter's blind. This is a permanent installation. My hands shake as I tie off the boat. Ranger's practically vibrating with excitement now. But there's something else in his behavior anxiety, uncertainty, like he's happy to be home but worried about what I'll find. The path inland is invisible unless you know what to look for. Tripwires, pressure plates, early warning systems. Whoever built this place didn't want visitors. But they're all disabled now. Traps rendered harmless by someone who knew exactly where they were. Then I see the cabin. It's not much military surplus and salvaged materials, built for function over comfort. But it's solid, well-maintained. The kind of structure that could keep someone alive for years in hostile territory. Solar panels provide power. Rain collection systems provide water. And the whole thing is positioned to be invisible from air or water. Fresh tracks in the mud around the structure. Boot prints. Size 11. The same size Tommy wore. My heart hammers against my ribs like a caged bird. This is impossible. Tommy died 15 years ago. I stood at his funeral, accepted his flag, mourned him for a decade and a half. But Ranger's tail is wagging like Christmas morning, and those boot prints are recent, made since the hurricane passed. Flashback. Tommy's promise. If I ever get lost, I'll send you a sign. Bobby, something only you would understand. Standing here in a hidden camp that reeks of military precision and long-term survival, with Tommy's dog leading me like some four-legged miracle, I can almost hear my brother's voice on the wind. Present. The moment of truth. Ranger trots to the cabin door and sits, looking back at me expectantly. This is it, the moment when 15 years of grief and guilt either get validated or destroyed. I climb the steps, noting the hand-carved ramp for easy access, the tactical positioning of windows, the escape routes planned into every angle. Whoever lives here thinks like a soldier, plans like someone who's seen too much war. My hand trembles as I reach for the door handle. Behind this door lies either the greatest discovery of my life or the final proof that grief has driven me completely insane. Ranger whines softly, and in that sound I hear Tommy's voice. You follow where he leads. I open the door. The door swings open on a world that stops my heart dead. This isn't just some survivalist's hideout. This is a shrine to a life that was supposed to end 15 years ago. Photographs line the walls like accusations. Pictures of me, dozens of them, taken from a distance with a telephoto lens. Me at Sarah's funeral, shoulders shaking with grief I thought was private. Me visiting Tommy's empty grave every Memorial Day, laying flowers on a headstone that marks nothing. Me sitting alone on my dock, drinking whiskey and talking to the darkness. Someone's been watching me for years, documenting my life, my pain, my loneliness. The photos are organized chronologically, creating a timeline of my last 15 years, a brother's life observed but never shared. On a makeshift desk sits a Purple Heart, tarnished with age and humidity. Tommy's Purple Heart, the one they said was lost with his body. Beside it, a stack of letters, dozens of them, all addressed to me in Tommy's handwriting, all unsent. My hands shake as I pick up the top letter, dated just 6 months ago. Bobby, I sit here every day watching you visit my grave, and it's killing me. You look so old, so tired, so alone. I want to run to you, tell you I'm alive, tell you I'm sorry for the 15 years of lies. But how do you explain to someone that their brother had to die to keep them safe? The letter trembles in my grip. Tommy's alive, has been alive all this time, watching me mourn a ghost while he lived like one. But that's not the worst discovery. In the corner sits a wheelchair, custom built for outdoor terrain. Military-issue medical supplies cover a table, morphine, antibiotics, the kind of serious painkillers you only need for serious pain. A hospital bed dominates the far wall, surrounded by equipment that belongs in an ICU, not a bayou hideout. Someone's been dying in this place. Slowly, carefully, with military precision, even in their final battle. Ranger whimpers and limps to the wheelchair, nosing at the armrests like he's trying to wake someone who's not there. His behavior tells a story I don't want to read, a dog keeping vigil over a master who's slipping away, growing more desperate as time runs out. Fresh blood on the sheets, recent, maybe hours old. Jesus Christ, I whisper, and the words feel like blasphemy in this place where my brother's been fighting his last war. More photographs on the nightstand, Tommy in uniform, impossibly young and proud, Tommy with Ranger, both of them dusty and tired but alive in some forward base that looks like hell on earth. And one that stops my breath, Tommy in a hospital bed, wrapped in bandages with Ranger lying beside him. The last photo shows Tommy in the wheelchair, months ago maybe, holding Ranger's head in his lap. He looks like death warmed over, gaunt, gray-skinned, eaten alive by something that medicine can't fix. Cancer, maybe, or the slow poison of whatever chemicals they used in that war. But his eyes still hold that Anderson fire. That stubborn refusal to quit that got him through childhood scrapes and teenage fights and 20 years of carrying secrets that would break most men. A journal sits open on the desk, filled with Tommy's careful handwriting. Day 5, 475. Ranger's getting worse. Hip dysplasia, probably from all those years of hard service. He keeps trying to walk to town, keeps trying to find Bobby. I think he knows I'm dying. I think he's trying to fulfill his last mission before it's too late. Day 5, 475. I do the math in my head. 15 years and a few months since Tommy was declared dead. He's been counting every day of his fake death, marking time like a prisoner counting his sentence. Day 5, 476. Had to let Ranger go today. Had to let. Told him to find Bobby. Told him to bring our brother home. Hardest thing I've ever done. Sending away my best friend. But Bobby deserves to know the truth before I'm gone for real this time. That was 3 days ago. 3 days since Tommy sent his dying dog into the storm to find me. To bring me here for a reunion 15 years in the making. The sound of boots on the cabin steps freezes my blood, heavy, uneven, the gait of someone fighting pain with every movement. Ranger's ears perk up and his tail starts wagging like he's seeing the second coming. The door opens behind me. Bobby. Jesus Christ. Is that really you? Or am I finally losing what's left of my mind? I turn around and see a ghost made flesh. Tommy Anderson, 65 years old and dying by inches, sitting in a wheelchair that looks like it's the only thing keeping him upright. He's thin as a rail, gray as October sky, wearing clothes that hang on him like he's shrunk inside his own skin. But it's him, those green eyes, that stubborn jawline, the scar over his left eyebrow from when he fell out of our treehouse at age 12. My little brother, aged by war and secrets and 15 years of living dead. 15 years, I whisper, and my voice cracks like I'm 17 again. 15 goddamn years I mourned you. Tommy's face crumples. I know. I watched you every Memorial Day, visiting that empty grave. You want to know how many times I almost rolled this chair right out there to you? How many times I wrote letters I couldn't send? Why? The word comes out like a roar. 15 years of grief exploding into rage. Why the hell did you let me think you were dead? Tommy's hands tremble on the wheelchair controls. Because I was supposed to be. Because the mission went sideways and the only way to keep you safe was to stay dead. What mission? What the hell happened over there? Classified operation. Black site interrogation facility that wasn't supposed to exist. We stumbled onto something we weren't supposed to see, and when we tried to report it, they had a choice court-martial everyone involved and let the story go public, or make us disappear. My legs give out, and I collapse into a camp chair. They killed your whole unit. Most of them made it look like an IED attack. But I was good at staying hidden, good at surviving. Ranger and I went underground while they figured out what to do with us. Tommy's voice is steady, but his hands shake. They offered me a deal. Stay dead. Keep quiet about what we saw, and they'd make sure you and Daddy never got hurt. Break the deal. And accidents happen to people we love. So you've been living out here for 15 years, watching me from the shadows like some kind of ghost. I tried to leave at first, got as far as Texas before they caught up with me. Put a bullet in my spine, told me next time it'd be your spine. Tommy's laugh is bitter as burnt coffee. So I came home, built this place where I could watch over you without putting you in danger. The pieces fall together like a puzzle made of broken glass. That's why you never contacted me, why you let me think you were dead. I couldn't risk it. They had people watching you, watching Daddy until he passed. Any contact from me would have signed your death warrant. And now, Tommy's smile is heartbreaking. Now I'm dying for real, and they've stopped caring about a dead man's secrets. Terminal cancer. Bobby. 6 months. Maybe less. I figured it was safe to let Ranger find you. Safe to finally tell the truth. Ranger limps over and puts his head on Tommy's lap. My brother's thin fingers stroke the dog's ears with practiced gentleness. He's been my lifeline for 15 years. Only thing that kept me sane. Watching over me. Keeping me company. But he's old. Bobby. His hips are shot. His heart's failing. I think he's been holding on just long enough to complete his final mission. Which was what? Bringing you home, bringing my brother back to me before it's too late for either of us. The cabin falls silent except for the sound of 3 hearts beating, 2 human, 1 canine, and the distant call of birds returning after the storm. Outside, the bayou is coming back to life. Inside, a family that's been broken for 15 years is trying to figure out how to be whole again. I'm sorry, Tommy whispers. God help me, Bobby. I'm sorry for all of it. And just like that, 15 years of anger drain out of me like water from a broken dam. He's my little brother. He's dying, and he's been carrying this burden alone for longer than I can imagine. We protect each other, I say, remembering Daddy's words. That's what brothers do. The silence stretches between us like 15 years of unsaid words. Tommy looks smaller than I remember, carved hollow by secrets and sickness. But those green eyes still burn with that stubborn Anderson fire. Ranger lies between us, breathing hard, like completing his mission has finally given him permission to rest. How long have you known? I ask, gesturing at the medical equipment that turns this cabin into a makeshift hospice. About the cancer. Tommy's laugh comes out broken. 2 years. Give or take. Started as lung cancer, all that burning oil and chemical weapons over there finally caught up with me. Spread to my bones, my liver. Doctors in New Orleans gave me 6 months. That was 18 months ago. You've been getting treatment, cash payments, fake IDs, the whole 9 yards. Can't exactly use my real name when I'm supposed to be dead. He wheels closer, and I can see the pain etched in every line of his face. But it's not working anymore, Bobby. I'm done fighting. I just wanted to see you one more time before I head to wherever dead soldiers go. The words hit me like physical blows. After 15 years of believing Tommy was gone, finding him alive only to lose him again feels like some cosmic joke. There's got to be something. Stop! Tommy's voice carries that command authority that made him a good sergeant. I've made my peace with it. Ranger has too, haven't you, boy? The dog's tail thumps weakly against the floor. Even dying, he's trying to comfort his master. But I haven't made peace with it, I say. Anger building in my chest like steam in a boiler. I haven't made peace with any of this. You letting me think you were dead, You watching me fall apart, you carrying this alone when you had family who would have helped. Family who would have died if they'd tried to help. Tommy snaps back, and for a moment he sounds like the 17-year-old who argued with me about enlisting. You think this was easy? You think I wanted to watch you bury an empty coffin? Watch you drink yourself half to death after Sarah passed? I died a little every time I saw you hurting and couldn't do anything about it. So, why now? Why break cover when you're dying anyway? Tommy's expression softens. Because Ranger was dying too. And I couldn't let him go without giving him one last mission. Because I was tired of being a ghost. Tired of watching life from the shadows. Because I realized that protecting you from the truth wasn't protecting you at all. It was just another way of abandoning you. He pulls out a manila envelope from beside his chair, thick with documents. Everything's in here. The real story of what happened in Afghanistan. The names of everyone involved in the cover-up. The evidence they've been trying to bury for 15 years. Tommy, no. If this is dangerous, it was dangerous when they thought I might live long enough to testify. Cancer changes the equation. His smile is grim but determined. Dead men tell no tales, but dying men can leave one hell of a legacy. I take the envelope with hands that won't stop shaking. It's heavier than it should be, weighted with 15 years of secrets and lies. What am I supposed to do with this? Whatever you think is right. Give it to the papers. Give it to Congress. Or burn it in your fireplace. That's not my choice to make anymore. Outside, the bayou is coming alive after the storm. Birds calling. Water lapping against the dock. The sound of a world rebuilding itself. But inside this cabin, everything feels like it's ending. Tommy reaches into another bag and pulls out a bottle of bourbon good stuff, the kind we used to steal from Daddy's liquor cabinet when we were teenagers. Remember the last time we shared a drink? Your going-away party. 2003. You got so drunk you threw up in Sarah's flower bed. And you held my head while I puked, then helped me sneak back into the house so Daddy wouldn't see me. Tommy pours 2 glasses with shaking hands. Best big brother a man could ask for. The bourbon burns going down. But it's a clean burn, the kind that warms instead of hurts. We sit in companionable silence for a moment. 2 old men trying to bridge a 15-year gap with shared whiskey and older memories. Tell me about Sarah, Tommy says quietly. I watched her funeral from the tree line. Wanted so bad to come stand beside you. The words open a wound I thought had healed. She would have loved knowing you were alive. Would have kicked your ass for staying away. But she would have loved it. She was good for you. Made you smile more. Worry less. I was happy when you found her. She used to say you weren't really gone. That she could feel you sometimes when we'd sit on the dock. I thought it was just her being romantic, but maybe she knew something I didn't. And Tommy's eyes fill with tears. She saw me once, 3 years ago, right after she got sick. I was watching the house, and she came out on the deck, looked right at me across the water and waved. Didn't say anything to you, but she knew. Why didn't she tell me? Because she understood what I was trying to protect you from. Smart woman. Your Sarah. Too smart for her own good sometimes. Ranger struggles to his feet and limps over to me, laying his massive head in my lap. His breathing is labored, and I can feel the heat of fever in his coat. This magnificent animal is following his master toward whatever comes next. He's in pain, I say, stating the obvious. Has been for months. But he won't quit, won't give up. Just like his old man. Tommy's voice breaks. I keep thinking I should put him out of his misery, but I can't. He's been my lifeline for 15 years. How do you say goodbye to that? The same way you say goodbye to everything else, I tell him. And the words surprise me with their certainty. With love, with gratitude, with the knowledge that he completed his mission. Tommy nods, tears rolling down his cheeks. His mission was to find you, to bring you home before it was too late. Then he succeeded. We're here. We're together. And that has to count for something. The bourbon bottle sits between us, half empty now, catching the afternoon light filtering through the camouflaged windows. Outside. Hurricane Helena's damage is already being reclaimed by the bayou nature's way of healing, of moving forward despite the scars. I want to come home, Tommy says suddenly. Not to die, but to live. Whatever time I have left, I want to spend it where I belong, with my brother, with my family. Then that's what we'll do, I say, and mean it. We'll figure out the medical stuff, the legal stuff, all of it. Sarah always said there's no problem that can't be solved if you're willing to work at it. Tommy smiles, the first real smile I've seen from him since I walked through that door. You sure about this, taking on a dying man and his dying dog? Blood may be thicker than water, but loyalty runs deeper than both. I tell him, using Daddy's words. Besides, someone's got to make sure you don't die before you finish telling me everything that happened over there. That could take a while. Good. I've got 15 years of catching up to do. 6 months later, the morning sun streams through the windows of my cabin, our cabin now painting everything in shades of gold and hope. Tommy sits in his wheelchair by the kitchen table, looking stronger than he did that day I found him in the bayou. Not cured, not healed, but present in a way that matters more than medicine. The experimental treatment at MD Anderson in Houston is buying us time, precious weeks and months that the doctors said were impossible. Tommy jokes that being officially dead for 15 years gave his cancer a head start. But coming back to life confused it long enough for the chemotherapy to work. Miracles happen, Dr. Martinez told us last week. Sometimes the will to live is stronger than any prognosis. Ranger lies on his favorite spot by the fireplace, breathing easier since the hip surgery that almost killed him. The veterinary surgeon said it was risky operating on a dog his age, but sometimes the risk is worth taking. He's walking again, slowly and carefully, but walking. "Morning, Bobby," Tommy says, accepting the coffee I pour him. 2 cups on the counter now, both full, both needed. Sleep okay? Better than I have in years, I tell him. And it's true. The nightmares stopped when Tommy came home. Hard to dream about losing someone when they're snoring in the next room. The kitchen table is covered with documents, legal papers mostly, the bureaucratic nightmare of bringing a dead man back to life. Tommy's lawyer, a sharp young woman from New Orleans who specializes in military cases. Says it'll take time, but it's doable. The government would rather quietly reinstate a war hero than explain why they faked his death in the first place. Package came yesterday, Tommy says, gesturing to a manila envelope by his elbow. From the Veterans Administration. Looks official. Well. Inside are forms I've been waiting months to see: disability benefits, back pay, survivor benefits that will help cover the medical bills that are bankrupting us both. But more important is the letter on official stationery. The United States Army is pleased to inform you that Sergeant Thomas Anderson's service record has been reviewed and amended. All previous classifications regarding his death in action have been revised. Sergeant Anderson is hereby recognized as a disabled veteran in good standing, entitled to all benefits and honors due his rank and service. Tommy reads over my shoulder, his coffee cup trembling in his hands. 15 years of being nobody, and now I'm somebody again. Strange how a few pieces of paper can give you back your life. You were always somebody. I tell him, the papers just make it official. The real victory came 3 months ago when Tommy's story broke in the Washington Post. The journalist, a veteran herself, handled it with respect and dignity, no sensationalism, no political agenda, just the truth about what happened to a group of soldiers who saw something they weren't supposed to see. The public response was overwhelming. Letters from veterans, donations from strangers, offers of help from people who understood that some wars don't end when the shooting stops. Most importantly, other soldiers came forward, men and women who'd been silenced by similar threats, who found courage in Tommy's story to tell their own. The congressman's office called again, Tommy says, flipping through the mail. They want me to testify at the hearing next month. You up for it? Hell yes. Been waiting 15 years to tell that story to people who can actually do something about it. The congressional hearing will be Tommy's final mission, exposing the black site operations, the cover-ups, the soldiers who were abandoned by the system they served. It won't bring back the dead, but it might prevent future tragedies. Ranger struggles to his feet and limps to the door, tail wagging. A car is pulling up the drive. Dr. Sarah Chen, the VA psychologist who's been helping Tommy process 15 years of isolation and trauma. She's become more than a doctor. She's become family. "Morning, boys," she says, scratching Ranger's ears as she enters. "How are we feeling today? Like $1,000,000. Tommy lies, but his smile is genuine. The therapy sessions are helping him understand that surviving doesn't require staying hidden, that healing can happen even when dying. "Bobby, could I speak with you privately for a moment?" Dr. Chen asks, and something in her tone makes my stomach clench. Outside on the deck, she gets straight to the point. The latest scans show progression. The cancer's moving faster than we hoped. How long? Weeks, maybe a month if we're lucky. The words hit like a physical blow, but I've been preparing for this conversation since the day I found Tommy. Cancer doesn't care about miracles or family reunions or unfinished business. Does he know? I think he suspects. He's talking more about final arrangements, making sure his affairs are in order. She puts a gentle hand on my shoulder. He's not fighting it anymore, Bobby. He's accepting it. Back inside. Tommy's reading a letter from a young Marine whose unit was saved by information from Tommy's testimony. The kid's handwriting is shaky, probably written from a hospital bed, but every word radiates gratitude. Listen to this, Tommy says. Sergeant Anderson, my squad leader told me about your story. Knowing that someone survived what you survived, that someone kept fighting even when the system failed them, that gives me hope. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for coming home. Good letter, I manage, my voice thick with emotion I'm trying to hide. Best damn letter I ever got. Tommy folds it carefully and adds it to a shoebox full of similar correspondence. You know what the best part is? These kids know they're not alone. They know someone's fighting for them. Dr. Chen spends an hour with Tommy, talking about pain management and quality of life and all the clinical terms that dress up the business of dying. When she leaves, it's just the three of us again, 2 brothers and a dog, facing whatever comes next. I want to go fishing, Tommy says suddenly. One more time, just like when we were kids. Think Ranger's up for a boat ride. The dog's tail thumps at the word boat, and despite everything, I laugh. I think he'd crawl to that boat if he had to. So we go fishing. Tommy in his wheelchair at the bow, Ranger lying beside him, me running the motor just fast enough to feel the wind. We don't catch anything worth keeping. But that's not the point. The point is being together, being family, being present for whatever time we have left. As the sun sets over the Atchafalaya Basin, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Tommy raises his beer bottle in a toast. To Ranger, he says. Best damn dog that ever lived. To Sarah, who saw what others couldn't. To Daddy, who taught us what family means. And to you, Bobby, for never giving up on your little brother. To coming home, I reply, clinking my bottle against his. To coming home, he agrees. Sometimes the best things in life come to those who never stop believing in miracles. Sometimes the dead return not as ghosts to haunt us, but as blessings to heal us. And sometimes it takes a loyal dog to guide us back to the family we thought we'd lost forever. In the distance, Ranger barks once, not in distress, but in joy. The sound echoes across the water like a promise home is where the heart is, not where the house is. And we are finally, truly home. Sometimes life gives us second chances when we least expect them, and sometimes those chances come on 4 legs with a loyal heart. Bob Anderson's story reminds us that family bonds transcend time, distance, and even death itself. When Hurricane Helena brought that dying German shepherd into Bob's life, it wasn't just a rescue, it was a reunion, 15 years in the making. Tommy's courage to finally come home, despite his terminal diagnosis, shows us that it's never too late to heal old wounds and cherish the time we have left with those we love. As Americans who've lived through decades of change, loss, and uncertainty, we understand the precious value of family loyalty. We've buried parents, lost spouses, and watched children move far from home. But Bob and Tommy's story proves that love doesn't end with loss. It evolves. It endures. And sometimes it brings miracles we never dared to hope for. Their father's words echo through generations. A man's word is his bond, and family protects family. In our golden years, we're reminded that home isn't a place. It's the people who refuse to give up on us, no matter how long the journey back takes. Share your thoughts. Have you ever experienced a second chance reunion with someone you thought was lost forever? What would you do if you discovered a loved one was still alive after years of believing they were gone?